I feel like if you're a strong, empowered woman, then you celebrate your femininity. You celebrate how beautiful, how amazing, how sexy you are, especially for women like my age. We're like all about family. It's like, what's wrong about that? What's wrong about like having a husband who you adore, who you serve, when you serve your family? It doesn't mean you're like a slave or anything like that. It's just,
Yeah.
that's just how strong women should be.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so excited to have this next guest on here. Before I introduce her, make sure you guys like, comment, share, subscribe to this page because I have been banned before, and YouTube is I'm officially on YouTube's radar. So make sure that you subscribe and give me a little boost of engagement so that the YouTube gods will be merciful on me. So this next guest is super awesome because she is a fitness influencer. She's in the fitness industry, but she's also very involved with politics, and she has her very outspoken opinion. So I'm excited to talk to her, hear her story, hear what's going on in that world. And I'd like to introduce you to Roxy Thunder.
Hey guys, how's it going?
So I'm super excited to have you on here. I don't know how long I've been following you. I think it's been less than a month or so, but
Okay.
You were at the march in DC, right?
I've been to both marches in DC, both million mega marches.
Awesome. Same here, actually. So I'm surprised. We've probably ran into each other, just didn't know it.
Most probably.
Everybody knows each other there. So let's start kind of at the beginning with you. So the first impression that I get off your Instagram is that you're super involved with the political aspect of things, but you're very dedicated to your fitness and to, I guess, your fitness career, right? Let's talk a little bit about how the two worlds merged for you. What brought you from one into the other?
So I first started, like my whole Instagram account was really all about fitness, since most of my business, I am a personal trainer. I also teach boxing classes. I teach at like a brick and mortar gym here in Michigan, but most of my clients are really like online clients, online fitness. So that's my business. So Instagram is basically my bread and butter, right? So when I started Instagram a few years ago for fitness, it had nothing to do with politics at all. It had nothing to do with like other social issues. I wasn't really like focusing on that or using my platform for that. It's just recently, during this pandemic, or plandemic, as I'd like to call it, that's when I started being more outspoken about my conservative views. And it was really hard at first, just because even though I am very strong-willed and I have like really strong opinions about things, I try to keep my business and my politics or my personal life completely separate. Especially, I do have a lot of clients who are liberals. So, you just kind of have to like balance it out when it comes to business.
Yeah.
But, this past few months, I just can't help myself, but really, had to figure out like, I have to speak up, I have to stand up for what's right. I can't just like sit down and just wait for things to happen. And I was like, might as well just like speak my mind and use my platform for that, since my reach is pretty big.
Of course. I think you are in a group of up-and-comers, as far as the political side of things go, that felt the need to speak out because they were kind of backed into a corner. One of the things that the left has done very well is they've made the personal the political. And they've done that intentionally, and they've talked about that. So somebody like yourself that, has their own business, they're living their life, they have their own values, they keep their opinions to themselves, are all of a sudden put on the forefront and said, you either agree with us or you're cast out of society. So that's to me what happened with George Floyd. And that was kind of the beginning for me, right? George Floyd, I was like, okay, done with it. I'm going to start posting about this.
Yes.
I think you probably have a lot of insight into what it's like being a business owner in a time like this, where any one of your clients at any given moment can just try and cancel you.
Most definitely. It's all about like cancel culture right now, which is, as a business owner, that is scary, but at the same time, with how things are happening in our world, it's not only in America, like it's about time that we really stand up for what's right. And like my whole platform for fitness, it was about empowering people, empowering women, and through fitness and health and, you know, eating right and all that. But at the same time, it's like if I'm here to empower someone and change someone's life, might as well help them, you know, change their mindset and just figure out, like, is this right for me? Does this like follow my values? Does this follow like what I really, you know, how I really want to live my life? And for me, it's like this whole radical left, you know, approach. It's just wrong. It's like flat out wrong. And again, I always tell people it's not about Trump versus Biden.
Right.
It's really what's wrong and what's right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I can't help myself but speak up, you know.
I'm interested to know about your views on, I guess, modern feminism and the way that it's kind of brought into, it's even brought into fitness, right, with the body positivity movement and stuff like that. How has that impacted your clientele, or maybe some of the people that you've worked with in the past? Do you see a lot of that? Do you see a lot of this this modern feminism kind of creeping in and maybe changing the way women think? What's your opinion on it?
Yes, most definitely. So I've taught like fitness classes in a university here in Michigan, and you know, just like different arenas, different clients, types of clients, from like 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds to like college students. And I've noticed like the younger crowd, they're all about like, oh, I'm a feminist, I'm a strong woman. And you know, that sounds great, right? Because I'm all about that. I'm very independent, I'm very strong-willed, I'm very outspoken. But at the same time, you'd have to figure out like, what are the roots of that? Are you just like fighting the system to, you know, to prove yourself, or are you fighting or are you just standing up for what's right as a woman because you are truly a strong woman?
Right.
And then, you know, just figuring out the whole conservative versus liberal views, it just feels like for me, if you are truly empowered, you don't really have to prove yourself. You just have to simply live your life, right? You're not like, oh, look at me, I'm a strong woman. It's like, no. Like,
Are you
if
saying
you're a
you
strong
don't?
woman,
Are you saying you don't
what? Sorry.
hashtag feminism on every single post that you put up? Is that what you're
No.
saying?
It's like, I feel like if you're a strong, empowered woman, then you celebrate your femininity. You know, you celebrate how beautiful, how amazing, how sexy you are, how intelligent you are. And that's the most important part, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, especially for women like my age, we're like all about family. It's like, what's wrong about that? What's wrong about like having a husband who you adore, who you know, who you serve, when you serve your family, it doesn't mean you're like a slave or anything like that. It's just,
Yeah.
you know, that's just how strong women should be.
Right.
And
I think
that
the
pisses me off.
the left has done a great job of creating these like disdain for the words like serving. You know, like serving used to be something you do willingly from your heart, and like of course you would
Yes.
serve your husband just like, you know, you would serve your children because it's something you want to do, it's something you desire to do. I think the left has also created like a disdain for family in general, right? Where it tells women that they have to try and be men, and they have to try and be strong in the way a man is strong. I heard a quote by a girl. I forget her Instagram, or else I would shout her out. But she said, "Softness is not weakness." And it was talking in relation to the feminist movement, that feminism nowadays seems to be opposed to softness because they see it as a weakness, but really that's one of the biggest strengths of being a woman, is that your ability to be strong, and I mean, your ability to be soft rather, and that actually holds a lot more weight towards men. If you really want to, you know, get under the skin, the softness is how you do it. I mean,
Yeah, that's true. And it's like, you know, even in the fitness arena, you know, it's not all about like ego,
right,
because that's what's happening. I mean, whether it's the fitness arena or the feminist movement, is it about ego, or is it really you celebrating your strength?
right,
And you know, that just like bothers me a lot, and I'm very outspoken about that. And just because like I could lift really heavy, I could deadlift really heavy, it doesn't mean like, oh, I'm here to like prove men wrong. It's like, no, I'm just celebrating my own strength and living my life. It doesn't matter what other people are doing around me, you
Right.
know?
There's a weird
So,
obsession in comparison, right? Like you're constantly
mhm.
having to measure yourself up to, let's say, what a man does or what another woman does.
Yes.
It becomes a very unhealthy way to live, regardless of whether you're a man or a woman. Comparison is something that really kills, I guess, your desire. Because if I were to
Mhm.
compare myself as a podcaster to Joe Rogan, like I would just not ever want to podcast again. How could I ever measure up to that? So I do think that you're absolutely right when you say that you have to live in your own world. You have to live by the
Mhm.
morality that you know to be true. And from there you can extend, maybe your wisdom and your knowledge through your platforms. But short of that,
Yes.
there's this weird obsession with feminism to kind of convert, right? It's almost like a religion. These women are out here trying to
Mhm.
convert. I've had it happen to me. So I'm in New Jersey. A lot of the dates
Okay.
that I've gone on have been women trying to convert me to feminism, because
Okay.
the first thing that they ask me is like, "Are you a feminist?" I'm like, "No." And I won't beat around the bush. I'll just say no. And they spend the
Mhm.
entire time trying to convert, trying to change. And I'm just like, it's not going to happen. I mean, we can leave now if you want.
And I think it's like I think like society today is like, I mean, seriously, it is so messed up. And I miss like, because like I'm from the Philippines. I grew up in the Philippines. I was born in the Philippines, and I moved here to the US about like 16, 17 years ago.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
still into, like, as much as I'm independent, as much as I've had an amazing career both in fitness and also, like, before fitness I was in software. So, and in that software industry, I was actually one of the only few women who had the position I had, which was a pretty good position.
Mhm.
But I never really felt like, oh, just because all the people I was like working with are men, it's like I'd have to compete with that. I really, it's like, for me, it's just like, just do your job and do your job right. That's all that matters.
Absolutely.
And given that too, it's like just being independent and all, it's just crazy how women nowadays, it's like they're not looking for a manly man anymore. It's like they want someone who would, who's a pushover, or who won't even like open the door for them. It's like it's like an insult to them if a man opens the door for them. I think that's like amazing. I think that's like what's needed. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate that with men.
Right.
So I
It's
don't
funny.
know,
I don't know if you've
feminists.
I don't know if you've heard of Jordan Peterson at all, but he talks a lot about this when it comes to gender roles within, yeah, I guess
Mm-hmm.
modern day. And he says that when women are seeking that, not that all women are, but when women are seeking to have a man that's easy to push over, they'll
Yeah.
end up resenting them for being able to be a pushover, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you'll try and make the guy a pushover, and then when he does become a pushover, you'll resent him for it and want to leave him. And that's kind of what's at the cause of all this friction, because the man's role
Yes.
is to be kind of steadfast in his beliefs and
Mm-hmm.
immovable to an extent. And so when he doesn't meet up to that, it's almost like a disappointment, even if it's on a subconscious level. So I
Yes.
definitely understand where you're coming from. Another thing that you mentioned was that you're from the Philippines. I'm Peruvian.
Mm-hmm.
People mistake me for being from the Philippines all the time. I don't speak Tagalog. But my point is, I've noticed like a common thread with people who either immigrated here or first generation Americans who maybe their parents immigrated here, that they still have the values of, where they come from or where their parents
Mm-hmm.
came from. And they've mixed that together, not so much with the liberal left kind of agenda, but more so with the idea of the American dream, the classic idea that if you
Mm-hmm.
come here and you work hard, you can build a life for
Yes.
yourself and you can succeed. I think that being me, I'm a first generation American. That's been kind of my North Star, if you will, my lighthouse, is just
Yeah.
seeing all of these testimonies of people that have come here from nothing and have everything now,
Mm-hmm.
has just completely disproven this narrative that we're somehow oppressed, and like, an
Mm-hmm.
oppressed Latino, you're an oppressed Filipino. How have you seen, I guess, that transition? Were your values something that you were always brought up in, or was that something that changed in you recently?
I always loved my values. I always loved the way I grew up. Like, I love my family. I think I had like the best childhood ever. Just seeing my parents. My mom was a housewife, my dad was a working dad, but we were very close. And I could see like the dynamic of my parents being like old school, but at the same time it's like I could see really their love and respect for each other. And I never saw my mom as like someone who's not empowered. I thought she was a badass, kick-ass, strong woman. You know what I mean? I'm like, no one wants to mess with her, even though like like right now, it's like if you say you're a housewife, it's like, oh, you're just a housewife. It's like, no, that's hard.
And it
You
also
know?
serves a specific function. I think we've thrown away the idea of complementary marriages where people have distinct roles, and now somehow you have to be this Mr. and Mrs. Smith where everybody's making $1 million and the nanny is raising your kids. We've kind of come a long way since then, and I think that we're having a return back to it. I don't know what your view is on this, but the younger generation, Gen Z, for like my little cousins and stuff, they're growing up and they're kind of resenting the leftist ideologies, and they almost want to be rebels. So the only place left to go is like, I'm going to be a rebel. I'm going to get a regular job, start a family, and have kids. And it's so backwards now. I don't know if you're seeing that out by you, but definitely here, that's what it's looking like.
Yes, I've noticed that with a lot of my friends who happen to be like half my age. I've been seeing them like it's kind of refreshing for me to see all these like college kids who are, who are very conservative, but of course quiet about it just because they will be canceled by their own school and by their own peers. But they do want that, want that family values back. It's like they don't want to get into the whole like divorce thing or even the possibility of divorce or even single parents, They want that like nuclear family strong again, which is amazing. It's like, that's what we need nowadays. That's what I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, when you distill a society down to its very core individual, what you get is the family. That's what society is made up of. And if you, like, I remember getting in a Facebook argument with somebody, like I used to do a lot. And they were pushing back on me because I said that, the ideal way to raise a child is with their biological mom and dad. That's just a statistic that's true. That's how you build a civilization. It's unfortunate that, maybe not everybody gets to experience that, but it is an ideal and it is a goal that's worth kind of trying to get to. What have you seen that, I guess in your experience coming into the conservative movement, I don't know how long you've been involved with conservatism or anything. What have you seen that's a difference when it comes to family versus, let's say, this idea of like single motherhood being prevalent and something to be praised?
Well, first of all, like being conservative, like I never really thought I would call myself a conservative before, even though I did grow up in conservative values and really, like that's my thing. Like I love family. I don't believe in divorce. I believe, you know what I mean?
Right. But
it really got to me like just this past summer when I'm like, you know what, I am really conservative and I gotta stand up for that, but yeah, it's like, it's just crazy. Like how people like, I don't know, like people just don't really care about family anymore. And I think family is the most important thing. Family is the most important thing. Faith in God is the most important thing. Whether, you could be Muslim, you could be whatever your faith is. If you know that there is a God, there is a supreme being that's, that's above money, greed, and all these like worldly things that people are focusing on. It's like, that's so important. That's humanity, at least in my opinion.
Right. I mean, what the founders said it, the founders weren't necessarily Christians like our founding fathers, but they were creationists. They were theists. They did believe in a God, a creator. And one of the things that they mention is that, a civil society that's made up of communities can only function if it's a moral people, if it's a people that believe in God. Otherwise, you throw that to the women, you have, these atheist ideologies, everybody's just out to get their own. And everybody's going to be at each other's throats within a couple generations. And I think we're starting to see that devolving from, communities that love God, that worship together, that go to church, and then they go to school, into this kind of like tribalistic me versus you, my team versus your team kind of mentality. And that to me is scary. So did your values, were they founded on God, Christianity? Where's your spiritual life that you kind of extracted those values from, if there is one?
Yeah, so I was born Catholic. So the Philippines, if you guys don't know, the Philippines is the only Catholic Asian country, right? Yeah, we're very Catholic. So whether you like it or not, you're going to be Catholic. So I grew up very Catholic. I went to a Catholic kindergarten to high school, an exclusive private Catholic girls' school. Then I went to a Catholic private university. So it's like, no matter what, I can't escape it, right? Nor did I want to. But the thing is, like, I'm not even like really religious. like just moving out of the country. I'm not really religious, but I know my faith is really strong. And that's what I always fall back on. It's just my, love of God, prayer, family, moral values. And I think that's super important. And that's what I found in like the conservative movement here in the US. It's like, that's what'll keep us going. That's what'll keep us moral. And that's what'll keep us in the right. It's like, if we have fear of God and we have respect and love for one another. And that's like, whenever you go to MAGA rallies, it's like one big family. Like you could go alone and you're going to feel so welcome, no matter what your faith is, no matter what the color of your skin is, no matter how you look. It's like everyone just loves one another and respects each other. And it's like, I don't think the other side has that. So
yeah, I totally agree. I think that's one thing that I love about just that the MAGA atmosphere, right? People may see it as kind of troublesome or problematic, like we're looking for trouble or something. But like, if you were down in DC and you were outside the JW while everybody was hanging out there, it was funny. Like I have a vivid picture because it was like a revelatory moment for me. There's people kind of hanging out, they're smoking cigarettes, they're drinking, they're doing whatever. But then in the middle of all that, there's just this guy there with a microphone and he's preaching the gospel. And for me,
I saw that.
I'm a Christian. He's dancing around, whatever. He's having fun. I'm a Christian. I enjoyed that so much because had it been any other collection of people from any other political ideology, that person would have been mocked. That person would have been called hateful. He's telling the gospel the way it is, like there's only one way to the Father, blah, 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 and these are things that even though not every single Republican or conservative find to be true, they all respect that we think that way.
Yes.
And they're not going to impede on that. And to me, that was so important. It's like, I genuinely feel accepted for who I am, not just the color of my skin or like, some random trait of mine. Is like my deepest parts of me, which is my relationship with God, is accepted here. And I think that's important in a country, in a civilization that's going to be, civilized and not violent. So I appreciate you for having that outlook. And, even though you say you're not religious, I appreciate that you do have that respect and that reverence. And like you said, that fear of God, that's, I think, so important in this side of the movement. So I want to kind of circle back, talk a little bit more about your business, what you're doing with it, maybe your political future, if there is one. What are you thinking? Where are you thinking this goes?
I don't know, political future. I've been having so many people just ask me, it's like, hey, are you running for something? Like I've gone to so many rallies, even here, locally here in Michigan. And I usually go to rallies alone. Just because I know like everyone's so nice anyway. It's like, might as well just go. So everyone just asks me and I'm like, I don't really have any political, aspirations, but I mean, you never know, right? I mean, it's like, you never know. Cause like for me, it's like, even with fitness, like I chose fitness even over like my career in software. Like I actually retired from software and I was doing that for like more than 10 years. I chose fitness because I wanted to serve people. And that was like the avenue that I could serve people, even though it didn't pay as much as, creating software, which was like making me loads of money. I chose fitness because I love making a difference in other people's lives. And it's not simply like, helping someone lose weight or something, but it's more like being able to really empower them to become more confident, more loving, and more grateful for their life. And that's why I got into fitness. So, I mean, if there's, I don't know, maybe I might have something to do with politics in the future. Right? I mean, I can't say no, right?
Yeah.
Like if it's my calling, then might as well do it. So.
Absolutely. I think there's going to be, especially after the way this election is going, where we're sitting now, today's Friday, as we're recording this, we don't know what's going to happen. But I think out of all of this, the silver lining is going to be, there's going to be a whole new generation of conservatives and people who are patriots, the part of the patriot movement, people like yourself that are they're going to come up to the forefront and they're going to be important in this movement going forward. Because if Trump isn't in the White House, there has to be some sort of collective that kind of continues that vision and that pushes for that vision. So I think what you're doing is so important. Speaking out, even though you're a business owner, I can't imagine that, so I appreciate you for doing that, for coming on here, giving your time. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about you? Maybe they're local to you and they want to, take a class or something. Well, what kind of, I guess, what's your connect, your plug?
Sure. So first of all, like online, you can find me on Instagram until I get nuked. It's Roxy Thunder. It's ROXY Thunder, one word. You can also visit my website, roxythunderfitness.com. And so you can get in touch with me through there too and see like all, before and afters of all my clients and all that stuff. And here in Michigan, if you're in the East Lansing area, so I'm pretty close to the capital, you could visit me at Title Boxing Club East Lansing. So I teach classes there. I do personal training there as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for your time, and stick around and we'll
Thank you.
cover.